Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony from the ongoing trial of Sean Diddy Combs, as reported by Inner City Press. The courtroom wasn't ready for what happened next, because this time, it was Tom Cruise. The courtroom atmosphere was electric yet suffocating. Every face in the room bore the fatigue of relentless questioning, but beneath that weariness lay a simmering anticipation. Something was about to break the fragile calm. Then, without warning, the large, heavy doors to the witness stand swung open. The sudden movement drew every eye instantly. A hush fell over the room like a wave. There, framed by the doorway's imposing woodwork, stood a man whose name carried more weight than most could comprehend. Tom Cruise. Hollywood's golden boy. The icon of blockbuster cinema and relentless work ethic. The man who had for decades seemed untouchable, almost mythical. But the Tom Cruise who entered that day was unlike anyone had ever seen. Gone was the confident swagger, the rehearsed charm, the ever-present, reassuring smile. Instead, his face was etched with something darker. A palpable unsettledness, a grave seriousness, almost a haunted presence that immediately commanded the courtroom's full attention. He moved with a measured solemnity, his eyes scanning the room not with curiosity, but with the heavy burden of unspeakable truths. Every step was deliberate, as if the weight he carried grew heavier with each footfall. The judge, a stern woman renowned for her ironclad impartiality and no-nonsense demeanor, blinked in disbelief. She instinctively leaned forward in her seat, her sharp gaze fixed on the man now at the center of this storm. From the prosecution benches to the defense table, the murmurs vanished instantly. The courtroom fell utterly silent, as if collectively holding its breath. No one had prepared for this. Not the attorneys, not the jury, and certainly not the public observers. The bailiff's voice rang out crisply, cutting through the charged silence. "Please raise your right hand." Tom raised his hand steadily, his voice calm yet resolute as he was sworn in. "I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth." He lowered his hand, paused a moment, then took a deep, grounding breath. "Your Honor," he began, his voice steady but heavy with gravity. "Before I begin, I want to be absolutely clear. What I am about to describe today is something I have never spoken about publicly. It is deeply painful to relive, but it must be said." The judge nodded solemnly, signaling for him to proceed. Tom's gaze locked onto the jury, each person's eyes meeting his, as if passing a silent message. This isn't just about a secret or a scandal. What I am about to reveal goes beyond whispers or rumors. It is about the darker side of power in this town. The kind of power that lives in shadows, controlling everything. And it all started in a place very few people even know exists. He paused, letting those words settle. In 2004, I was invited by Sean Diddy Combs to a private event at one of his properties. At the time, I thought it was simply a gathering of industry insiders, an opportunity to network, maybe unwind. What I did not know was that beneath that mansion, hidden behind a secret door, was a tunnel, a hidden passage where the real rules of Hollywood were enforced. The courtroom shifted uneasily in their seats. A tunnel? What kind of place was this? What horrors could be lurking beneath? Tom's voice dropped as he described the entrance. I was led down a narrow passage, dimly lit by flickering sconces. The air was thick with the scent of incense, something heavy, almost choking. The tension was palpable, like the atmosphere itself was charged with something unspeakable. He described the walls, lined with strange symbols, a bizarre fusion of old Hollywood iconography and occult imagery. It was disorienting, surreal. The silence in the room grew heavier as Tom recounted this. At the end of the tunnel was a room unlike any place I had ever encountered. He paused for effect. It was a circular chamber, draped in deep velvet curtains, illuminated only by candlelight that flickered in eerie patterns. Around the room sat a dozen men and women, some faces I recognized, others hidden behind ornate masks. But despite the masks, their eyes were unmistakable. Cold, calculating, devoid of empathy. Tom's voice grew quiet, almost a whisper. Diddy was there, but not as the host I knew. He commanded the room with an authority I had never seen in him. He was more like a high priest, the leader of something dark and ancient. He took a slow breath, steadying himself. And then, the ritual began. The judge's eyes widened slightly, and the courtroom fell utterly silent, as if the very air had been sucked away. Tom explained that the ceremony started with everyone reciting a strange pledge. Words that sounded like a hypnotic chant, a mantra about loyalty, secrecy, and submission to the greater good of the industry. And then came the object. Tom hesitated, his voice thick with emotion. It was a small, ornate box. Diddy opened it before me. Inside lay what looked like a carved skull. But it wasn't real bone. It was made from some dark, pulsing material, almost alive. It gave off an eerie glow, like it was breathing. An audible gasp swept through the courtroom. Diddy's words echoed in Tom's mind as he recalled them aloud. "This is the price of belonging," Diddy said. "To be part of the family, you must face what you fear most. You must prove your commitment." Tom said they then brought forward a silver knife. I was told to carve my initials into the skull. It was supposed to symbolize my mark on the industry, a binding contract of silence and obedience. He swallowed hard, eyes glistening. I refused. The courtroom erupted into whispers and murmurs. Tom's voice cracked as he recounted what happened next. He was led to a small chamber deeper in the tunnel, locked inside alone for what felt like endless hours. From behind the walls, he could hear muffled chanting, an unrelenting reminder of the ritual's power. "I thought I might never leave," he said quietly. Eventually, Diddy returned. He said, "You think this is a punishment? Number, it's a privilege. The industry is built on sacrifices, visible and invisible." Tom explained how everything changed after that night. The invitations dried up, the meetings stopped, the projects, scripts, everything shifted. He felt watched, tested, and pushed into lines of obedience that transcended any normal business dealings. He described how actors, musicians, and executives who resisted this shadowy ritual simply vanished from the scene, their careers quietly erased without explanation. Those who embraced the ritual rose quickly, Tom said, but the cost was their freedom. The judge, usually unflappable, was visibly stunned. Tom turned to look directly at Diddy, who sat impassive, though a flicker of discomfort crossed his face. Barely noticeable, but there. "I'm not here to destroy anyone's reputation," Tom said quietly. "I'm here to expose the truth about what power looks like when it's hidden in darkness. this ritual, this secret tunnel. It's the hidden engine that fuels the real decisions in Hollywood. He leaned forward, voice intense. If we don't face this, no one is safe. Not actors, not producers, not the countless people dreaming of making it in this city. The courtroom remained silent for several long, heavy seconds. Finally, the judge spoke, her voice low but resolute. Mr. Cruz, your testimony has introduced matters of serious concern. This court will ensure these claims are fully investigated. For now, you may step down. As Tom rose, he looked at the jury one last time. This isn't just my story, he said. It's a warning, and it's time for the truth to come out of the shadows. With that, he left the stand, the echo of his words hanging in the air like a storm warning.